Welcome back, observer of hidden battles. Step into the shadows for a moment, because the conversations happening behind your back have taken a turn so intense, even the air feels different around your name now. They're not arguing about you anymore. They're preparing for a war with your name on it. And before you panic, understand this clearly. This war isn't physical. It's energetic. It's symbolic. It's a clash of perceptions, alliances, and motives. A silent storm of reactions, whispers, decisions, shifts, fears, and sudden awakenings. People aren't fighting each other with weapons. They're fighting with interpretations of you. Your energy, your growth, your direction, your evolution. The moment your presence stopped being predictable, the moment your silence became strategic, the moment your aura shifted into something unrecognizable, that's when their entire dynamic changed. They used to argue about you, debate you, doubt you, dismiss you, underestimate you, analyze you, project their insecurities onto you. But that phase is over. Now they're preparing, each in their own way, for what you might do next. Because something about your rise has created tension in places you've never seen. Your name has become a pressure point, a trigger, a symbol, a signal. Some people are preparing out of fear, some out of respect, some out of admiration, some out of insecurity, some out of obsession, some out of confusion, some out of pure self-preservation. But they're all preparing, because they can feel that you're moving into a version of yourself that will require them to choose their position. Neutrality is gone. Silence is gone. Indifference is gone. Your growth has forced everyone to define their allegiance, not because you demanded loyalty, but because your evolution demanded clarity. People once comfortable sitting on the fence are now choosing sides, because your energy no longer allows blurred lines. You're stepping into a timeline where your presence influences more than you speak. It's not what you're saying, it's what you're becoming. And that's why they're preparing. Because when someone evolves quietly and comes back with a different vibration, the whole environment reacts. Some people feel threatened, some feel inspired, some feel exposed. Some feel activated. Some feel defensive. Some feel the need to stand closer. Some feel the need to distance themselves. It's all happening at once. A shift in alliances, a shift in perception, a shift in energy. Your name alone triggers strategy meetings now. Not literally, but energetically. People gather to talk about what to expect from you, what your next move might be, what direction your life is taking, what your silence means, what your attitude reveals, what your aura is signaling. You might not hear the conversations, but your intuition already feels them. You can feel the heaviness in the air. You can feel the subtle tension around your presence. You can feel the whispers behind your back. You can feel the sudden shift in how people look at you. You can feel the difference in their tone, their posture, their energy. Because when people prepare for a symbolic war, they start behaving like everything you do matters. Your decisions feel like threats to some. Your boundaries feel like dominance. Your growth feels like a challenge. Your clarity feels like a weapon. Your confidence feels like a signal. Your silence feels like strategy. Your presence feels like power. You're not attacking anyone, but they're reacting as if you did. This war isn't about violence. It's about equilibrium shifting. It's about people realizing you're no longer someone they can control, no longer someone they can predict, no longer someone they can manipulate, no longer someone they can place beneath them. Your evolution has put pressure on people who relied on the older version of you. And pressure reveals the truth in everyone. That's why they're preparing, because your rise has consequences they didn't see coming. Your energy is stronger now. Your boundaries are clearer. Your intuition is sharper. Your presence is heavier. Your silence is louder. Your decisions are more intentional. Your identity is more stable. They feel the shift even when they can't name it. People who once underestimated you are now watching you like you're a storm forming in the distance. Not because you're dangerous, but because storms create change. And change terrifies those who want to stay in control. This is why the conversations about you have changed tone. People aren't debating who you are anymore. They're preparing for who you're becoming. They're preparing emotionally, preparing mentally, preparing socially, preparing spiritually, preparing energetically. Some are preparing to support you. Some are preparing to oppose you. Some are preparing to imitate you. Some are preparing to distance themselves from you. Some are preparing to compete with you. Some are preparing to protect their own ego from your evolution. Everyone is preparing for something, because your name carries tension now. Not negative tension, but meaningful tension. The kind that comes from someone stepping into their potential. People sense a shift in you the same way animals sense storms before the sky changes color. It's instinctual, it's primal, it's subconscious. They don't know what's coming. They just know something is coming. And that uncertainty is driving their preparation. You're not threatening anyone. You're revealing who they are. And nothing exposes a person's truth faster than watching someone they underestimated evolve into someone powerful. Now, behind closed doors, the story sounds different. Instead of, "What's their problem?" they whisper, "What are they planning?" Instead of, "They won't do anything," they whisper, "They're too quiet. Something's off." Instead of, "They're irrelevant," they whisper, "Why is everyone talking about them?" Instead of, "They're not that deep," they whisper, "They're not the same. Something changed." What changed? You changed. And they're catching up emotionally to a version of you that already moved on spiritually. This symbolic war isn't about conflict. It's about alignment. You're aligning with your highest version. People around you are aligning with who they choose to be in your story. Some will stand with you. Some will stand against you. Some will stand aside. But very few will stay neutral now, because your energy no longer makes neutrality comfortable. Your evolution demands clarity, and clarity demands revelation. That's why they're preparing. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're becoming undeniable. You're moving into a frequency that forces people to make choices they've been avoiding for years. Are they inspired by you or intimidated by you? Do they root for you or resent you? Do they align with your integrity or feel exposed by it? Do they respect your boundaries or feel threatened by them? Your rise forces answers, and every answer becomes a position. Every position becomes an allegiance. Every allegiance becomes energy. This is the symbolic war. The war of perception, identity, energy, alignment. And your name sits at the center of it, not because you demanded importance, but because you earned influence. Your presence became a fault line. Your boundaries became a dividing line. Your evolution became a moment of reckoning. They're preparing for a war with your name on it. But the war isn't against you. The war is within themselves, between who they are and who your rise reveals they could be, between their insecurity and your confidence, between their stagnation and your growth, between their ego and your clarity, between their comfort and your transformation. Your evolution forced them to see truths they've avoided, and truth always triggers preparation. They're not preparing for conflict. They're preparing for consequences. Consequences of underestimating you. Consequences of doubting you. Consequences of misreading you. Consequences of assuming you'd stay the same. consequences of thinking your silence meant weakness, consequences of believing your growth would plateau. And now here you are, rising, grounding, becoming. And they're preparing for the next chapter of your life as if it's a seismic shift, because it is. You're stepping into a timeline where your mere existence creates reactions in people. And that's why they're preparing, because something big is coming, and they can feel it before you even speak it. The truth is, when people sense a shift in your destiny, they start rearranging themselves long before you ever make a move. And that's exactly what's happening right now. They're not preparing for a war with you. They're preparing for a war about you. A war of alliances, a war of interpretations, a war of narratives, a war of emotional territory, a war of energetic positioning. Because when someone like you rises, quietly, steadily, without asking permission, it forces everyone else to confront their own identity. People who were once indifferent to your growth are suddenly nervous. People who were once dismissive are suddenly attentive. People who were once disrespectful are suddenly careful. People who were once loud are suddenly silent. People who once assumed you were predictable are suddenly studying you like you're a shifting constellation. You didn't cause the war, your transformation did. Your rise created tension among people who expected you to remain small. Your clarity caused discomfort among those who benefited from your confusion. Your strength exposed the weakness of people who relied on you being fragile. Your silence revealed the noise inside those who never formed a stable identity of their own. Your confidence triggered the insecurities of those who measured their worth by comparison. Your boundaries forced people to see the parts of themselves they've been avoiding. This war isn't physical, it's psychological. It's the kind of war that happens when a person evolves so powerfully that their existence rearranges the emotional hierarchy of an entire environment. Because people who were above you now feel equal to you. People who saw you as inferior now feel threatened. People who ignored you now feel exposed. People who thought you needed them now realize you don't. People who used to control the narrative around you now realize they've lost control completely. When someone loses control of a story they wrote for you, their ego panics, and panic always turns into preparation. That's why you feel the shift. The air is different. The tone is different. The behavior is different. The glances are different. The silence is different. The energy is different. People aren't debating who you are anymore. They're trying to figure out who they need to become in your new story. And that terrifies those who were hoping you'd stay predictable, because predictability is control. And you've broken the pattern. Your aura used to be easy to read, open, accessible, self-doubting, overgiving. Now your aura is encrypted, clear, grounded, quiet, sovereign. People don't know how to navigate someone who isn't seeking approval, someone who isn't thirsty for validation, someone who isn't dependent on anyone's emotional permission, someone who's finally centered in themselves. This kind of energy forces repositioning. Some people reposition closer because your rise inspires them. Some reposition sideways because they're unsure how to feel. Some reposition quietly behind you because they secretly admire you. And some reposition far away because your growth exposes the stagnation they're still clinging to. That's the war. It's the war of their own self-image breaking against the truth of who you've become. The most surprising part? The people preparing the hardest are the ones who pretended not to care. They're watching you more closely than the people who openly admire you. Why? Because your evolution threatens the structure of the roles they assigned themselves in your life. Some people built their identity around the idea that they were above you. Your rise destabilizes that. Some built their sense of superiority on the belief that you weren't capable of much. Your potential dismantles that. Some built their confidence on the illusion that they were the wise ones, the strong ones, the stable ones. Your transformation contradicts that. Some needed you to be harmless so they could feel powerful. Your strength disrupts that. Some needed you to be confused so they could feel wise. Your clarity destroys that. Some needed you to be dependent so they could feel necessary. Your independence ruins that. Their entire self-image is now being tested by the existence of a new version of you. That's why they are preparing. Not for a conflict, but for the emotional fallout of realizing they were wrong about you. This war is internal to them, but it plays out externally in subtle ways. People suddenly talk softer around you. People suddenly choose their words carefully. People suddenly avoid making eye contact. People suddenly bring up your name hesitantly. People suddenly retreat into silence when you walk into the room. People suddenly monitor your reactions. People suddenly mimic your behaviors. People suddenly mirror your energy. People suddenly adjust their tone to match yours. It's not respect, it's adaptation. They're adapting to the new power dynamic that your growth created. You didn't seize power, you simply grew into it. And people feel what growth does to an environment. It exposes what isn't growing. Some people are preparing to align with you because they sense your rise is inevitable. They want to stand beside you before the story becomes too big for them to enter. Some are preparing to distance themselves because your elevation highlights their complacency. Some are preparing to compete with you because your glow activated their insecurity. Some are preparing to imitate you because your evolution awakened a desire they've been suppressing. Some are preparing to protect you because your presence feels sacred to them now. This war is simply the emotional reshuffling of an environment, forced to adjust to a version of you that can't be controlled or dismissed anymore. And here's the part people won't admit. It's not what you did that scares them. It's what you might do. It's the unknowns, the unsaid, the unseen, the unspoken direction your life is taking. People fear possibilities more than facts. And you've become unpredictable in the most graceful way. Your silence feels dangerous to their ego. Your calmness feels strategic. Your growth feels prophetic. Your confidence feels like preparation. Your consistency feels like a countdown. It's not that you're preparing for war. It's that you're moving with the energy of someone who's already won one. That's why they're reacting this way. Your evolution doesn't look like a rise to them. It looks like a threat to their image, a threat to their comfort, a threat to their ego, a threat to their version of the story, a threat to their assumptions, a threat to their control. And people prepare hardest for threats they don't understand. But the irony is this: you're not preparing for anything. You're just aligning, just growing, just healing, just becoming who you were always meant to be. It's their minds that are turning it into war. Because when someone who was underestimated becomes someone who can't be ignored, the world around them shifts into defense mode. Not because they're dangerous, but because they're undeniable. You didn't choose this role in their story. Your evolution gave it to you. And now they're preparing because, deep down, every single one of them knows you haven't even made your real move yet. And here's where everything finally clicks. The part they don't want to admit out loud, but every single one of them feels in their chest. They're preparing for a war you never signed up for, because your evolution forced them to confront themselves. This isn't a war of fists, weapons, or conflict. This is a war of perspectives, a war of identity, a war of emotional alignment, a war of internal truth. A war created entirely by the fact that you've become someone they can no longer categorize. Your growth placed pressure on people who never expected to feel pressure from you. Your rise exposed the stagnation in people who once felt superior to you. Your silence confronted the insecurities of people who relied on controlling your narrative. Your clarity disrupted the comfort of people who wanted you to remain predictable. They're preparing for a symbolic war because they know one thing for sure. You're not playing the same role anymore. You're not the underdog. You're not the fragile one. You're not the confused one. You're not the quiet background character. You're not the easy-to-read, easy-to-manipulate version of yourself they relied on. You've stepped into your own story, and this alone forces them to choose where they stand. This is what happens when a person becomes self-aware. Everyone around them gets exposed. And exposure creates tension, because when you walk into a room now, you're not just present, you're symbolic. You're a mirror. You're a reminder. You're a catalyst. You reflect what people don't want to face. You remind them of their own unfulfilled potential. You activate the parts inside them that are asleep. You trigger the insecurities they've hidden for years. You awaken the confidence they abandoned. You disturb the comfort of people who settled for less. That's why your name has become something people prepare for. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're disruptive. Disruptive to illusions, disruptive to stagnation, disruptive to their old storylines, disruptive to their ego narratives. You're not even trying, but your presence alone forces recalibration. And recalibration feels like war to people who don't want to grow. They're not preparing to fight you. They're preparing to fight the version of themselves your evolution exposes. It's an internal battle, but they project it outward because it's easier to blame you than to face their own reflection. Some feel threatened because your growth highlights their lack of progress. Some feel nervous because your clarity makes their confusion obvious. Some feel competitive because your confidence disarms their insecurity. Some feel protective because your energy feels sacred to them now. Some feel inspired because your rise gives them hope. Every reaction is different, but every reaction is strong. Because you're no longer neutral. You're a force, a catalyst, a shift, a spark. Your evolution is loud even when you're silent. Your presence is heavy even when you're still. Your glow is disruptive even when you dim it. And the more you grow, the more people are forced to choose sides. Are they standing with you, against you, or away from you? This is the war they're preparing for, a war of identity alignment. The funny thing is, they think you're aware of all this, that you're calculating something, that you're planning a strategy, that you're watching every move they make. But you're not. You're focused on your path, your purpose, your healing, your transformation, your next chapter. You're not preparing for war, you're preparing for elevation. And that's exactly why they feel the pressure. Because when a person evolves without asking for permission, everyone who survives on control starts losing theirs. Your growth stole nothing from anyone, but it revealed everything about them. And revelation feels like confrontation to those who avoid truth. This symbolic war they're preparing for, it's not a battle you fight. It's a battle they're fighting with their own fears. Fear of being irrelevant to you now. Fear of losing power. Fear of losing influence. Fear of losing access. Fear of losing narrative control. Fear of your potential. Fear of your next move. Fear of the version of you they can't predict anymore. Because unpredictability terrifies insecure people. The truth is, you already won, not by defeating anyone, but by becoming someone who no longer participates in their games. That's what final move energy feels like. Not aggression, not retaliation, not dominance, just elevation. And elevation always creates tension in people who are still holding on to lower versions of themselves. So while they prepare for a symbolic war, you prepare for alignment, for purpose, for clarity, for expansion, for new doors, for new timelines, for higher frequencies. That's why your name carries power now, because it's attached to momentum they can't stop. You're not headed toward a battle, you're headed toward a breakthrough, and they can feel it even before you walk into the next chapter. That's why they're preparing, because deep down, they know. You're not the threat, your evolution is. And nothing is more unstoppable than a person who outgrew the version everyone once underestimated.